In answer to your question, the best camera is the one that you have with you. Very, very simply. If you want to get good at this, you got to take lots of pictures. And if you have a very large, very complicated camera, one that you force your dive buddies to carry around with you because you're so busy schlepping around underwater toys like scooters and things like that. And it's in all seriousness. So if you have a camera that's really big, really complicated, it's a pain to use, you're not going to use it and you're not going to shoot a lot. And the more you shoot, the better your photography is going to get. It's really, really simple. And if you have a great camera that has got the wrong lens on it, you're shooting in Hong Kong and you've got a lens that's suitable for wide angle stuff, where there's no visibility, you really do want to have a camera that is very, very versatile. So, without any further ado, Ansel Adams, a famous American photographer, landscape photographer, one of the true pantheon of photographers. The single most important component is the 12 inches behind the camera. That is the ability to see things, to see something around you and visualize that as a finished photo. That's really what it's all about. The camera itself is just a tool to get you there. If you don't have the creative vision to turn that into something, the best camera in the world is just going to make you frustrated. So, my rig.
You wanted to.
Yeah, well, a little bit. So Mike said that I'm using a TG-6. It's actually a TG-5. It's a predecessor to that. The rundown that you've got here is actually the most recent versions of all that. So for example, on Amazon, TG-7 now is $500 US. The PT-59 housing, I'm using a 58, 306. Olympus OM Systems strobe was actually a private branded CNC. You can buy that for $390. Throw in $100 for a lanyard, sync cable, ball arms, and everything else. And then software is free for less than $1,300. You're actually out shooting pictures. And that strobe, incidentally, I bought 5 years ago used from the lovely and talented Andy Niven. So I spent considerably less than that on it. Yeah. Whoop. What do you like about the TG series? First of all, it's very compact. I can take my shipping case that I travel with on a dive trip, and I can get that in there and all my dive gear and get on a plane with less than 22 kilos of luggage in total. Throw some clothes in there. Try that with Mr. Extra Luggage Allowance there. Right, so the TG series, the thing that I like about it is it's compact. It's very, very rugged. This weighs next to nothing. You'll notice that I'm not using any floats or anything else on this. When I first started doing it, I had a proper tray and I had floats and everything else. You don't actually need any of that. It's negatively buoyant, but only a little bit. It shoots RAW, and RAW is really good. I don't know if you guys know the difference between RAW and JPEG. RAW allows you to make major adjustments in the picture. You can basically under or overexpose by 2 stops, and that makes a huge difference when you're actually doing post-production. The other great thing about this camera and the whole series is if you go down and you start shooting and you're set up for macro with a Sony or with a Nikon or something like that, you can't change lenses. Whereas with this, you're not going to be able to shoot a rec, but you can shoot wide angle, and I will show you a little bit later. And you can also shoot macro without screwing around with lenses, just literally with a push of the button. It's doubly waterproof because the camera itself is water resistant to 15 meters. Put a housing on it and you're good to 40 meters. So even if the housing leaks, which in the 5 years I've been using it, it hasn't, with no change in the O-ring for that matter, the camera itself is still waterproof. It has outstanding macro capabilities. It's stupidly good. In terms of the value that this thing provides, it is one of those rare products that's really way better than it should be. A couple of limitations though. It's got a small sensor. The sensor on this is about 1/30th the size of a full frame camera sensor. That's a very big difference. and it has very limited manual controls. So you are,
No manual control.
well, you can set the ISO on it, okay, and you can set program and aperture mode, but in terms of actually dialing it in the way you would dial it in with a DSLR, you can't actually do that. However, it does perform remarkably well, considering it does have that's relatively small limitation on it. In terms of software, I use two packages. Digikam I use for cataloging. That's a little bit like a product from Adobe that starts with a B. I won't mention its name. And I use Darktable for the actual editing. There's another Adobe product that's almost as good as that. Both of these are free of charge. They're open source software. And both of them are available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. You can actually download them from the addresses that are shown on the screen there. Both these and a whole bunch of other open source photographic solutions have got very active user communities. Pixel.us supports about 20 different open source projects. But on top of that, you've got a very, very active community of people who create the software, who support the software, and encourage you to use it as well. There's a guy named Bruce Williams in Australia who makes videos. He's made about 150 different videos over the years explaining the changes in Darktable and how to use it. The guy's videos are really, really good, and you can start with that and just work your way through it. So just to give you an idea, this is what Digikam looks like. And again, I use this primarily for cataloging purposes. You can see the year date there, and then everything just comes up folder by folder per photo shoot. I shoot anything from 5,000 to 10,000 images a year. So actually keeping track of all of those with the dates and with some sort of a description makes a big difference if you're ever trying to find something. Darktable has got actually two views. This is the view you use for actually editing the photograph itself. And you can see some of the things that you could do with it. This is really, really powerful. It's got denoising. It's got the obvious stuff like contrast and exposure. But you can also, for example, take dirt out of a picture. You've got lens correction in there. You've basically got everything that you need to fine-tune and to adapt a picture. This is the second view from Darktable, and again, that shows you everything that you're working on all in one. Excuse me, fell swoop. So why open source? Open source has a couple of advantages, several advantages. If you have been using Windows recently, you know that you've been pushed to move to Windows 11. And Microsoft is being incredibly aggressive about that. There are also an enormous collection of, I won't use the word because this is being recorded, but you can fill in the blank for yourself. They are forcing people to replace their computers, perfectly good computers, for fallacious reasons, so that you can install Windows 11 on them. I use Linux on this computer, on my media center at home, and also on my desktop at home. My media center is a 10-year-old laptop that I'm running Ubuntu on. And you can't, as far as Windows is concerned, that's something that's destined for the landfill. I find that highly offensive. It's wasteful, and it's just plain wrong. And there's going to be, if you want to buy a used computer, the next couple of months are going to be brilliant, because so many people are going to be getting rid of computers that are perfectly usable, because Microsoft has told them, oh no, you can't use it anymore with Windows 11. So there's no registration. Nobody knows that you're using this. You don't have to give them your name, your address, or anything else. And there's no telemetry. So it's not sending data back and forth to Microsoft or to Apple or anybody else. There's no software lock-in. All of the file formats that are used here are open source. That means anybody can use them, and you can use them with different software. There's no monthly subscription. I find monthly subscriptions I'm absolutely abhorrent, and they're becoming more and more popular by the day. Auto manufacturers are starting to use them now with things like heated seats that you have to pay a subscription to use. I mean, this is offensive. It's the height of stupidity. You're also not feeding an AI scraper, and increasingly any piece of software that you use is being fed into somebody's AI model. And I also find that quite offensive. Linux is basically what the internet runs on. And if you're a Mac user, basically Mac is a skinned version of Linux. It's stable, it's clean, it works. When I was running Windows many years ago, you'd have to restart your computer every couple of days. I restart my home computer, which is running Linux, about once a month. And that's usually because there's a software update that's at a kernel level where it wants to do a complete restart. But it doesn't need to be restarted the way Windows does. It's also because Linux is a relatively small proportion of the overall software universe, about 5% at this point. It's not a priority for hackers and for viruses. If you're going to write for viruses, you write them for where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, and that's people who are running unpatched versions of Windows 8, not something like this. So my workflow, really simple. One, you import the images into the computer. Two, I use Digikam to rename everything. And as you saw when I put the screen grab up there, it's year, month, day, description, image number. So that gives you 250807 diving mole bowl number 26. And that makes the computer automatically sort the images so that you can find things more easily. Once that's done, I use Digikam for a first call. And the first call is to get rid of test shots, because I always take a test shot before I get into the water, or two, to make sure the camera's working, the flash is working, everything is working the way it should be. And then the obvious mistakes, the shots that are out of focus, the shots that just didn't work, just get rid of them then. Number 4, import the images into darktable and then apply presets, watermark, and cropping. So I have a collection of presets that basically just take the raw image and turn it into something that's usable. Raw is very, very rough. And it's not like what you see with JPEG, which is what the camera says, this is what you should see, this is JPEG, it's fixed pretty much. With RAW, it's not. So you need to do a few things with it to get it looking sort of attractive. The watermark is really just so that I can see what I've already edited, done a quick pass on. And then the crop is really, really important because there's so much extraneous material there. You want to slim this down so that you can actually see the important part of the picture. Once that's done, there's a second call. So, it's not unusual if I'm shooting, say, a nudibranch or something, you might have 6 or 7 shots of it. It'll be pretty quickly apparent that 2 or 3 of those are going to be keepers, and the rest are going to be, sort of okay, maybe not exposed right or framed right, get rid of them. Number 7, rate them. One of the nice things about darktable is that you've got a star system, so you can rate them and then you can sort the images by star count, or also by color codes if you want to do that. Number 8, share them. So put them on my blog, put them sometimes on Facebook, the SCDC WhatsApp group, Reddit, Scuba Board. Number 9, very, very important. When all that's done, back them up. So the keepers are backed up to the cloud, so that if my house burns down, I've still got the images, and everything is backed up to a network-attached storage appliance in my home. And then finally, get everything ready for the next time out. So that format the card, and just a little sidebar, you don't want to delete images by image on your SD card, because that can lead to a corrupt card and massive failure. Wait, download everything, and then format the card in total. Charge the batteries, check the seals, pack everything up, and you're ready to go for the next dive trip. So, I warned you about some of the models. Just a couple of before and after images to show you, first of all, what the camera is capable of and also what the software is. So, this is the really, really basic, quick pass. You've got a crop, you've got the color is corrected so that the fins are the right color. Jan's face is roughly about right. You can see that the octopus is yellow, so we're plus or minus. But again, this is not where this camera really shines. It shines in macro, but that's a fairly wide angle shot, and that's not too bad. Another example. This is again from Mole Bowl, a green turtle, and again, you're cropping. You can see this part here has been darkened. Right? Because what are we interested in? We're interested in the turtle. We're not interested in the crap on the reef. That's interesting, but not that interesting. Also, look at the detail that's been pulled up here and the detail that's been pulled up here compared to this bit. And that's, you know, a combination of what the camera itself is catching, but also what the software is capable of doing in terms of fine-tuning it. Well, that was shot on Breaker Reef. And again, you can see where this has been cleaned up with where the sediment in the water has been removed. But the real sweet spot with this is to look at the rhinophores here versus the rhinophores here. Just look how sharp that is. You've actually pulled that image out. You've gotten rid of all this crap around here. You're focused on the nudibranch itself. And these guys are a little bit like shooting a black frogfish. There is one solid color. So it's really difficult to get any sort of detail out of it. It just looks like an orange blob. There's no real information there. But the camera and the software can actually pull that out and make it much more interesting. One more, nudibranch. This is also from Mobile. And I put this in just to sort of show you how you can reimagine a shot. I mean, you can see the rotation has changed. It's cropped. You've gotten rid of the bit of backscatter in there. It's sharper. The contrast is better as well. One last before and after. This is a tunicate. I absolutely adore these things. I think they are the coolest sea creatures going. But they are really, really hard to shoot because they're translucent, somewhat transparent, and the focusing on them is very, very hard to get right. But then you can see, you know, what that actually accomplishes. That to me looks like something out of a science fiction film. It looks like an entirely different universe. But again, that's the ability to see something when you're shooting and also to see it in post and to be able to say, okay, I can do something with that, knowing what the software is capable of, knowing what the camera has actually caught. So that's the before and after parts. Some closing thoughts. If Photoshop is the answer, you're asking the wrong question. I don't know if any of you are jazz fans. There's an American recording engineer called Rudy Van Gelder who started recording in his parents' home in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. He recorded Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, John Coltrane, the giants of jazz. He died in 2016. In the early 2000s, he re-released recordings that he made in the 1950s and 60s in his home studio. And I mention this because there's a direct parallel here. Rudy Van Gelder was a purist. He was fanatical about mic positioning, about levels, about getting everything right in the recording, not fixing it afterwards. And it's the same thing with video. It's the same thing with photography. Get it right when you actually get the image, get the sound, then you can fine tune it. But if the original material isn't right, you're probably not going to get very far with it. If your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. Robert Capa, a war photographer from Hungary, famous, died in battle, stepped on a landmine, that was the end of him. But this is appropriate for a couple of reasons. One, if you're shooting underwater, water is a terrible thing to have to shoot through. So the closer you are and the camera is to the thing that you're shooting, the better your image quality is going to be. Second, you want to fill the frame, especially if you're shooting with a camera like what I've showed you there before. The less you crop, the better your image quality is going to be. So get closer. You'll get better image quality and fill the frame. Give me something to look at. Don't give me a lot of crap on the reef. Give me the turtle. Henri Cartier-Bresson.
Did he really say that?
Yeah, he did. He did. So this is the guy who created the decisive moment in photography. Every photograph has got one moment when it is absolutely at its perfection. But he's absolutely right about that. And this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about the best camera is the one that you have with you. If you take a camera out twice a year, okay, you're not going to be comfortable with it. You're not going to be proficient with it. You want a camera that you're comfortable with, that you like shooting with, that you can get past that first 10,000 pictures, because that's when the magic starts to happen. When you've got muscle memory for the controls, the camera becomes part of you. If you're farting and fidgeting around with it and trying to remember, you're not going to be making a great deal of progress. This was a face-off, so I had to put a hockey reference in there. And a Canadian reference as well. This applies equally to photography. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Get down there, take pictures. There's just no other way of doing it. Take the pictures. Finally, Stephen King, the American horror novelist. He was actually talking here about writing. And as a writer and as a photographer, you will have things, you will have images that, oh, it's nice, it's almost good enough, but no. You want to honor your viewers' time and your viewers more than your own time. You take the time to sort the pictures, to cull the pictures, only show the good stuff. If it isn't something that you'd be proud to, don't send me 20 pictures, send me the 2 good ones. That's what I want to see. That's where the magic happens. And with that, thank you.